All right, welcome back. So in our last explainer, we laid out this big framework for understanding how to win with AI in MedTech, the data, workflow, decision triad. Well, today, we're taking it from theory to reality. We're going to look at how real organizations are actually building this advantage and what those results really look like on the ground.
Okay, so just to quickly recap, the core idea here is that a real sustainable advantage in AI, it's not just about having the flashiest algorithm anymore. It's about owning proprietary data, becoming an essential part of the clinical workflow, and ultimately earning a spot in those critical medical decisions. This is the architecture, the lens we're going to use to look at our examples today.
So here's the game plan. First step, we're going to dive into a really high-impact use case that shows you exactly how AI creates value in the real world. Then, we're going to break down 3 different companies and their unique models for winning. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a big takeaway that you need to remember.
All right, let's start with something super concrete. The world of regulatory and clinical authoring. Believe me, this is where the rubber really meets the road for AI and life sciences. Now, if you're outside the industry, this might sound a little dry, but this process, drafting these enormous complex documents for clinical trials and getting them ready for regulators, it eats up a staggering amount of time and resources. It's a huge bottleneck, full of painstaking detail, which, you guessed it, makes it the perfect playground for AI to come in and make a massive, massive difference.
And the difference is absolutely staggering. I mean, just look at this number. We're seeing companies take a process that used to take 2 or 3 weeks, drafting a clinical study report, and crush it down to just 3 or 4 days. That's a 75% drop. That is a total game changer for speed.
And this just shows you the sheer scale we're talking about. It's not just a few hours saved here and there. Get this. One major pharma company automated about 80% of its clinical writing and saved over 20,000 hours in a single year. Another one saved 10,000 hours just on clinical narratives. That's a huge efficiency gain.
Right, so speed is great, but here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about being faster, it's about being better. In head-to-head comparisons, AI-generated first drafts are showing about 50% fewer errors than the ones done by humans. So you're getting a massive leap in both speed and quality. That's the holy grail, right? And look, this isn't just a handful of startups playing around in a lab. These are real results being talked about on investor calls, published by firms like McKinsey and BCG. You're seeing this from the absolute biggest names in the industry. We're talking pharma giants like Merck and Pfizer, all the way to medtech leaders like Medtronic and Siemens Healthineers. The entire industry is moving this way. So let's tie this back to our framework. It fits perfectly. Those immediate wins, all that speed and cost savings, that's your efficiency layer. The better quality, the fewer errors, that's effectiveness. But the real prize, the new value creation, is what all of this unlocks. Getting regulatory approvals faster, which means getting new treatments to patients sooner. And this is what separates the leaders from the rest of the pack. The companies getting these incredible results aren't just handing their teams a new tool. They're building an enterprise-wide capability. They're connecting their AI systems to official sources like FDA databases and clinicaltrials.gov and building the governance to make it all stick. That is the crucial difference between a simple productivity hack and a genuine strategic advantage.
Okay, so we've seen how this works in a specific workflow. Now let's pull the camera back and look at the big picture. How are entire companies building their whole strategy around owning that data, workflow, and decision triad? We're going to break down 3 fascinating companies, Tempest AI, Viz AI, and Owkin. And what's so cool is that each one takes a totally different angle, a different strategic wedge to get in. But they're all aiming for the same thing, building a powerful, defensible moat across that triad. First up, let's talk about Tempest AI. Their strategy is just a masterclass in the data plus decision model. Their whole company was built on a deceptively simple insight. In a field like oncology, the most valuable thing you can possibly have is structured, multimodal clinical data. And here's the genius of their model. Tempest went out and built one of the largest proprietary libraries of clinical and molecular data on the planet. I'm talking genomics, imaging, clinical notes, the works. Then they use that incredible, unique asset to train their AI models, which then help doctors make better decisions about diagnostics and treatments. Their moat? It's that data. Nobody else has it. Period. Okay, next up we have Viz.ai, and they flip the script a bit. Their focus is all about the workflow plus decision part of the puzzle. They win by inserting themselves right into those critical, time-sensitive moments of care.
And this is what's so brilliant about what they do. The platform isn't just a passive tool that gives you a report. Take stroke care, for example. Its AI detects a suspected major blockage in a brain scan, and it doesn't just flag it. No way. It instantly and automatically alerts the entire care team, the specialist, the neurologist, everyone on their phones. It doesn't just inform a decision, it triggers the workflow that saves lives. That is an incredibly powerful place to be.
All right, for our last example, let's talk about Outkin. They tackled one of the trickiest problems in all of healthcare AI. How do you get access to enough data when it's all locked up in different hospitals because of privacy rules? Their model is all about the data network and collaboration. And their solution is just brilliant. Instead of trying to pull all that sensitive patient data into one giant central database, which is a legal and logistical nightmare, they use something called federated learning. Basically, the AI model travels to the data at each hospital, learns what it needs to learn on site, and then sends back only the insights, not the private data itself. It's an incredible way to build this massive, powerful data network that is global, scalable, and keeps privacy at its very core. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. A deep dive use case, 3 different company strategies. So what's the big takeaway? What's the pattern that connects all of this? It all boils down to this one central idea. For years, the race was to see who could build the absolute best algorithm. Well, that era is over. With these huge, powerful foundation models available to pretty much everyone, just having a slightly better algorithm isn't the defensible moat it used to be. The new moat, the new source of real, long-term advantage, is what we might call agentic AI. And what does that mean? It means AI that isn't just a passive calculator. It's an active system that, like we've seen, owns a unique data layer, embeds itself directly into the day-to-day workflow, and actively helps trigger or guide those make-or-break medical decisions.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. As AI weaves itself deeper and deeper into the fabric of healthcare, the real battle isn't over code. It's over who gets to own the moments that truly matter in a patient's life. The winners won't be the ones with the slickest algorithm. They'll be the ones who've earned the trust to be there when it counts. So the question is, who is that going to be?